Hello, everybody. Welcome, Andy. Good to see you. Good to see everybody here. We have a brand new month ahead, a brand new masterclass guest. But before that, let's catch up on some cool stuff that's going on. The main thing that you need to know and mark in your calendars in just 3 days' time, February 10th, we have Carissa Hendricks on our Showtime feature, which is really great. She was one of the first adopters of the Showtime, of the online virtual show experience. And she has now done a new iteration of her show. So even if you've seen her live, even if you've seen her virtual show, you haven't seen this. And it's going to be great. She's absolutely hilarious, ton of crowd work in the show. And it's super reasonably priced. And it's one of our most fun features. It's called Showtime. And we hope to see you there.
Yeah, the whole idea is you can bring your family. It's a magic show. So it's an hour-long show with Carissa, and it's, like Josh said, her brand new show. So if you've seen the old one, now you get to see the new one, and you can do it with all of your magician friends. But bring your family along, and then after the show, say goodbye to your family, because then we have a Q&A for maybe 45 minutes or so, and we can ask Carissa anything. So we can talk about her tech or her choices to bring in a team to work on this show. So it's going to be a really interesting one.
And the other thing that's so cool that we sort of massaged out with our virtual show feature of Showtime that other performers don't have is that if you're in a time zone that it doesn't really work for you to watch live on February 10th, that's okay, because for a period of time after it airs, you can watch it streaming. So you can watch it at your convenience, which is really cool.
Yeah, you have a few days to watch it. But, you know, Carissa's show I'm really excited about. I'm going to be staying up late to see it. But there is another show we should talk about just briefly. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here, but we have an extra special Showtime coming up next month. Yeah. Joshua J., this guy right here, is doing a Showtime. You've been doing all these killer virtual shows that I've kind of snuck into and seen. I've been blown away by the way you've taken on this medium. So just talk for a few seconds about it. But we'll have time for the rest, over the next
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. You were a big help when I was first feeling this out. Yeah, I've been doing virtual shows, and I did a complete 180. When it first happened, I thought, it's not magic. It's so distant, so cold. The medium's all wrong, and I just sat out. But I really missed it. And so when the opportunity came about, I put together a virtual program. And it's kind of part show, part talk, and I love it now. I really, really love it, and I've gotten better at it, and I've learned from some mistakes. And so, yeah, we're putting on March 3rd a big shindig. I'm going to open it up to all the 60 Possible Things people as well. So there's going to be a lot of public people watching the show, which I think will give some cool insight into how the show's kind of supposed to go and not just for magicians. I'd love it if you came. I'd be honored if you came. It's on March 3rd, and it'd be great to see you there.
I'm seeing some great comments in the chat already. Maximilian has bought his ticket. He's going to be there. Charles is saying Showtime is off to a great start, and he's right. So it's going to be a really good couple of months for Showtime. First Carissa, and then Josh for the extra special How Magicians Think show. So let's move on now. Let's talk about tonight, because people are looking forward to it in the chat. Just a reminder, the format of this is exactly as it's called, Masterclass Live, which means we want you guys to get involved and be live with us. So if you want to ask Eric questions, pop them in the chat, and then we can bring you into the live feed and actually ask your questions direct to Eric, or Josh and I will also be interviewing Eric, and we can answer those questions too.
Yeah, I mean, Eric's one of my favorite magicians to watch. He fooled Penn and Teller. He was a finalist on America's Got Talent. And I'm going to be paying particular attention to his pacing. Everything Eric does, the thing that strikes me, whether it's cards or coins or other things, is he knows how to slow down moments and really milk the magic for what it's supposed to be. So I'm super excited about this.
Pacing is more important now than ever before, right, with the Zoom shows. So I think that is a really astute thing to notice. Well, let's not talk anymore. Please welcome our friend Eric Jones.
Hey.
Eric, sorry, we seem to have a problem with your audio. Bear with us 1 second. I'm going to remove.
That was all me. You got to build it while you fly. So I'll start over again, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, Josh and Andy. Thank you for hosting this amazing virtual masterclass. Again, thank you for having me. Thank you for joining. The way I like to do this is it's going to be part lecture, part workshop, but all interactive. I'll be taking questions from you. Josh and Andy will be jumping in periodically. So if you do have any questions, make sure you throw them in the chat. And while we're progressing, we will definitely get any questions that you have answered. There's going to be a lot to discuss. During this first masterclass, we're going to talk about some of the basic building blocks that go into making coin magic specifically both entertaining and deceptive for audiences. I'll give you a couple of routines that you can go home, fool your friends and family with, and then I'll give you a few things that you can build towards as we go into week number 2, where we'll go down the rabbit hole a little bit further. And then in week number 3, I'm going to do some really cool things with paste boards, with playing cards. Now, I don't know exactly where you guys fall in the chat. If you've been doing magic for just a few weeks, a few days, or if you are a complete veteran and you've been doing magic for 20 or 30 years. So what I wanted to do is start off by giving you some basic techniques that you can apply regardless of if you never learned how to classic palm the right way, or if you really just want to learn how to do it, things like that. So I'm going to go over a couple of very basic things, but I promise you the pace will increase as we go. But I want you to get accustomed to not only my performance, but also my teaching style. So let's start off with the most basic way to handle playing cards. Coins. And that would be a thing called the finger palm. And in the finger palm, all you're doing is you're holding the coin in your fingers in such a way that you're not able to see it. If you place another item at the fingertips, then it's masked even further. The basic way to get into this situation is to simply curl the fingers in around the coin. Let me see if we can get in focus here. I'll bring it up a little bit. It's got to mask my face. There we go. Actually, you know what? I forgot. I've got a second camera. George, if you don't mind, if we could switch that little guy. Let me get this out of the way here. So here we go. So all you have to do is curl the fingers in. I like to hold the coin at the base of my middle and my ring finger, so that when the fingers curl in on the coin and turn palm down, the coin doesn't fall to the floor. Another way you can do that is to hold it between the ring and the pinky finger, so that again, when the fingers curl in, the hand turns palm down, the coin doesn't fall to the floor. The idea is that if you hold another item at the fingers, you're even able to do a palm display towards your audience, which even more really convinces the audience that there's nothing in the hand. This is known as the Ramsey subtlety. There are a bunch of things that you can do with this. For instance, a very simple vanish. You could show a coin like this, snap the fingers, cause the coin to vanish. That's a very simple put vanish, which means that I'm going to create the illusion that I'm going to toss the coin from this palm up hand into the awaiting palm up hand. The timing is that as I turn the hand palm down, I'm going to curl the fingers in at the moment when the coin should fall from hand to hand. And I like to pantomime, or actually perform the action that I'm going to pantomime in a moment so that I can get the timing. You'll notice how the receiving hand drops just a little bit. One more time. Now I know it seems very simple, but I promise you it's very deceptive. From this point, I will relax the hand that's holding out, or even use the hand to snap the fingers to convince the audience even further that the hand is now empty. Then you simply open the hand to show the coin. So once more, in exposed view, turn the hand palm down as you slowly curl the fingers in, drop the hand slightly to create the illusion that the coin has fallen into the hand, allow this hand to relax, create the moment the magic happens, the coin vanishes. Now that's a very simple, if we can switch back to the front cam, that's a very simple vanish that you can do with the French drop. French drop with the finger palm. There's other things that we can do. I wanted to concentrate on something like the classic palm, which is when people think about palming, it's the classic position that they think of. And that would be to hold the coin literally by the sides of the muscles on the sides of the hands and the thumb just about here. Now, if you've never placed a coin in Classic Palm before, I'll give you a couple of tips that helped me that might help lessen the learning curve for you. George, if you don't mind, let's switch back to the other camera again. Thank you. Now, basically what you're going to do is you're first going to have to decide what kind of coin you want to use. Now, when I first got started in Magic about 20 years ago, I didn't have access to half dollars. In fact, the biggest coin that I had was an American quarter. So it was a little bit more difficult for me, especially when I have what would be considered medium to large sized hands. But the coins that feel the most comfortable for me is the American half dollar. I can also palm with a larger coin like a dollar, but you have to find the coin that you feel is going to work best for you. If you have smaller hands, or if you're, if you're younger, you might want to use the American half dollar. For most of us, a half dollar will be great. And if you happen to fall above 6'1", or more, or higher or taller, you might want to use a much larger coin. But once you've decided what coin you want to use, the next thing is to concern yourself with the placement of the coin. A lot of times when I see people do this, they have the coin far too close to the fingers, which is going to make it extremely difficult. And you end up with this very arthritic spider grip like position in your hand. The goal isn't to squeeze the hand closed. The goal is to find the muscles both on the pinky side of the hand and on the thumb side of the hand that can contract the least to hold that coin in place. So the way I tell people to do this is if you were to lift the pinky towards the ceiling, same thing with the thumb. So those two fingers go towards the ceiling, you'll notice that you have a bit of a valley between those two, right in the middle of the palm. If you open the hand, try to find the place where if you point those two fingers towards the ceiling, the coin will start to get gripped by those two muscles, like so. And you don't want to squeeze it so tight that you leave marks on the side of your hand. The goal is that if you were to turn the hand palm down and keep the coin there, just by tapping the hand, the coin would fall out. That's how you know you have the right amount of pressure. A lot of people end up squeezing these two fingers together far too much. And again, that creates that really weird look. You want to get the hand as flat as possible. And again, this is something that's going to come with time. But again, it should be just light enough that if you were to slowly separate the thumb and the index finger, and the pinky finger, that coin will just fall right out. With enough time, with enough dedication, with enough practice, you should be able to get to the point where you can then palm 2, 3, or even 4 coins. And the way I always suggest that is have the coin closest to the flesh in the position where you typically classic palm, and then cascade them towards the wrist, like so. That way you can have the coins release one at a time, which there are a bunch of tricks that we can discuss that use this. Let's go over a quick vanish that you can use with the exact same technique. Watch the coin. It's similar to the put vanish that we discussed just a moment ago, with a really cool exception. The exception here is that I'm going to create the illusion that I'm taking the coin to the fingertips and I put the coin in the other hand. It never leaves the classic palm. This is going to take a little bit of pantomime, so you're going to have to look at the way your hands naturally move. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the hand palm down and pretend to make it look like I've taken the coin at the fingertips. I place my thumb on it and then I bring it up. That's the way my hand would naturally move. I'll turn the hand palm down, grab the coin, bring it to the fingertips. Like so. That's the pantomime. That's the actual action. Again, turning the hand palm down, allowing the coin to hit the fingertips, place the thumb on the coin, and then displaying it in this slidini style at the very tips of the fingers. In pantomime, the coin will never fall from the classic palm. I'll make it look like I've taken the coin here with the exact same timing. So it looks like I've got the coin at the fingertips. Like so. I show the hand, the receiving hand. I pretend to place the coin here. I'll close the fingers around so that they never get to see the coin. They have to feel that in their mind. Snap the fingers and again cause that coin to completely vanish. So that is another really cool vanish that you can use using the classic palm. Now, I've gone over 2 techniques so far, and I'm curious, are there any questions about either that I can expand on before we move forward? Andy, is there anything in the chat at all? Or Josh? Or Andy?
Hey,
Or Joe?
you're good. We're all good. The way we'll do it, Eric, is that we will collate all the questions, so you can go the full hour, and then we'll do all the questions
way.
at the end.
Okay. No problem. Sounds good. Cool. So, moving on from the classic palm, the next thing I'd love to talk about is the JW grip. Now, the JW grip is one of my favorite techniques. It's one of the only techniques that will allow you to show both the inside and the outside of the hand at the same time. It looks kind of like this. So it looks like you're getting to see between the fingers, the inside of the hand, and you can even show the back of the hand all at the same time before producing the coin. I'll switch over to this camera if we could, George, and I'd love to show you how we get into this position. From your basic finger palm position, what you're going to do is you're going to curl those fingers in, turn the hand palm down so the coin doesn't fall to the floor. Again, that's your finger palm. I'm going to place the thumb on the coin. Then I'll extend all 4 fingers as a unit. And you'll notice how the thumb is on the coin, just contacting it either by the head or the tail. And you want to keep the coin parallel to both the floor and to the ceiling throughout this entire procedure. What you're going to do from this point is you're going to push the coin towards the index finger side of your hand, so about half of the coin is exposed from the base of the index finger, like that. From this point, you're going to curl your index finger around the coin, gripping it in 2 places. You want to grip it at the base of the index finger and by the tip of the index finger. Now, because we're all using different size coins, we have different size hands, you're going to have to find the position that feels the most comfortable for you. Sometimes people like to have it a little bit closer to the flesh. Other people, like myself, prefer to have a little bit of space between the coin and the remainder of the index finger. Once you've found that spot, you curl the hand into a loose fist, and this is what your audience would see from the front. To conceal the coin from your audience's point of view, you extend the middle finger so that the side of the middle finger then contacts this edge of the coin. Then, to keep the coin from being seen between the index and the middle finger, you want to curl the ring and the pinky finger so that the index and the ring finger are about the same height. That way, if people are looking from above, they're not able to see this. So this is how the coin is concealed. It's important that the middle finger and the thumb create the letter C. This is the JW grip. That's how you get into it. Now, depending on your work environment, this works 180 degrees. If you have people who are standing above you, in this particular technique, my friend Mike Eaton had the idea of turning the coin. I'm sorry, if you have people sitting below you, you might want to turn the coin at an angle so that the coin then follows their eye line. Because if you have the coin at this position, if people are looking from underneath, there's a chance they could see the coin from just here. But by tilting that coin just a bit, you still have that same cover from the ring finger. But now you have more coverage, much more coverage with your index finger and middle finger. All right? Now, how to produce a coin from this position. Essentially, you want to reverse the actions. You're going to place your thumb back on the coin. You extend all 4 fingers as a unit, and then 3 things are going to happen in quick succession. Your thumb will push the coin towards the fingertips. At the same time, the fingers are going to curl back to expose the coin. At the same time, you turn the hand at the wrist to reveal the coin to your audience. So from finger palm into the JW grip, then the production. Now, here's something that's kind of cool. I'm going to show you a way that you can practice the JW grip while still performing a piece of magic. Now, I'm not claiming originality. I'm sure a few other people have come up with this over the years. But I happened to be asked if I'd be willing to perform and teach magic at the Virginia School of the Blind and Deaf several years ago. And while I was creating magic for this specific venue, I came up with this from the JW grip. C-O-I-N spells coin. All from the JW grip, In American Sign Language, the JW grip is a natural C shape. If you allow the middle finger and the ring finger to contact the tip of the thumb, that'll give you your O. If you then close the hand into a loose fist and extend the pinky, in American Sign Language, this is the letter I. If you close the hand into a loose fist again and then place the thumb between the middle and the ring finger, there's your letter N. So COIN spells coin. Now, there are a bunch of ways that you can produce the coin after you spelled it in sign language. The way I would teach the kids would be to take the thumb, push the coin into the hand, turn the hand palm up, and then one finger at a time open to reveal the coin. So COIN, coin. But again, there's a ton of ways that we can produce a coin from JW grip. For instance, Mike Gallo would produce it this way. You've got the coin in JW grip, and what's going to happen is you're going to place your thumb on the edge of the coin closest to the base of your index finger. And then as you put pressure on it, it's going to be applied between the thumb and the index finger where it was just resting. And that way you can extend the index and the middle finger fully, the index finger and the thumb fully to produce the coin. So you'd rub the middle finger and thumb, and then as you come back, you grab the coin, and as you extend, you open the middle finger, extend the index finger and the thumb, and that creates a very magical production. And that would be the JW grip. Moving right along, the next thing I'd like to talk about is the nowhere palm. And the nowhere palm has a very interesting history. Years ago, the late, great David Roth created a technique called curl palm that he used as a way to get into and out of edge grip. So this is edge grip. You're holding the coin between the index finger and the thumb so that it doesn't appear as if you have anything else in the hands, and it looks like you can show the front and the back of the hand, but you have a coin, again, trapped between the index finger and the thumb. And again, by holding an item like a coin at the fingertips, it makes it more natural, like we discussed with finger palm. By holding an object at the tips of the fingers, it makes it look more open, even though you are concealing. For edge grip, you have to keep the coin parallel to the floor and the ceiling along your spectator's line of vision so that it doesn't flash from above or below. So what if you don't have an object at the fingertips? This looks kind of weird to just walk around like this. So what David Roth noticed is that by curling the ring finger around the coin, you can now let go and the hand looks a lot more natural. So this would be curl palm. Again, just being curled around by the middle finger, and at a moment's notice, your thumb can take over and you go back into that edge grip. So you can go back and forth to show apparently a completely empty hand with the similar angles to finger palm. Jeffrey Latta, a good friend of David Roth's, says, I like this, but what would happen if instead of holding the coin by the middle finger, you were to hold it by the ring finger? He noticed that the natural lay of the hand, when the hand is at rest, the index finger is extended the most. The pinky is curled in the most. And they have a natural progression where each finger curls in a little bit more. And by using the third finger curl palm, which he then called nowhere palm, you get this really open display of the hand where you have that natural lay of the hand, the index finger being extended the most, the pinky being curled the most. So it looked almost as if the hand was at rest, even though you were holding out. So this becomes a really cool way to be able to show the back and the inside of the hand and between all of the fingers before you produce a coin. This is a very tricky position to get into, but I'd like to show you a couple of ways to do this. The first way would be to make sure that the coin, the edge of the coin, is along an invisible line right here along the ring finger. You just want to place the coin right along that line. Now what's going to happen is your thumb is going to grab the other edge and lever the coin up along the ring finger like so that the ring finger can then curl around the coin and let go. And by keeping that coin again parallel to the floor and the ceiling, just like so, it creates the illusion that the hand is otherwise empty. So again, lift up, allowing the coin to lever up or lever up on the ring finger, curl the finger around the coin, and you're in the nowhere palm. The way to make sure, if you're holding the coin in a vertical position, you want to aim directly towards your spectator's line of sight. Because if you tilt it just a little bit in either direction, you're going to expose the coin. It's a lot better if you have it parallel to the floor and the ceiling. You get much better angles. As long as you keep that coin parallel to the floor and the ceiling, you've got a much wider range of where you can hold the hand before the coin has any chance of flashing. The typical rule is that you want it below your spectator's line of vision, but above the sternum. So as long as you keep it in that range, there's no chance of flashing, unless you tilt the hand in some way. That's the first way to get the coin into this position. There's a slightly more difficult way, but it's also very convenient depending on the technique that you want to use the palm in. The idea is that you hold the coin between the middle finger and the ring finger. And what's going to happen is you're going to drop the ring finger, allowing the coin to tip over the middle finger towards the ring finger. Once the coin has begun to tip over, you're going to squeeze the side of the pinky against the side of the middle finger. That way the ring finger can grab the coin by the edges to take it into nowhere palm. I'm going to do that from the side a little bit. That way you can get a better view of this. So it's between the middle finger and the ring finger. You drop the middle finger and allow the pinky and the ring finger to squeeze against the coin, bringing it vertical. That way the ring finger can wrap around the coin, then placing it into that nowhere palm position. There's a third way. And the third way is going to require two hands. But as you learn the technique, this may be the best way to practice. You can learn the other two as you go. But to put this into a context, let's place it into the context of a vanish. So you've just shown a coin. Now what you can do is you can take the coin, give it a squeeze, and then the coin is gone. And you can show that both hands are empty. What you're going to do now is place the coin directly into the nowhere palm as you take it away to make it vanish. The way this is going to work, and I'll switch around this way so you can see this, I'm going to place my thumb underneath the coin as it's being held at the palm up hand, at the index finger and thumb, right around the middle of the coin so that you can have access to the bottom edge of the coin. The ring finger is going to contact the top edge of the coin and squeezes around the edges of the coin. From this point, you come away, and it appears as if you might have a coin here because you no longer see it here. Cause the magic to happen, open the hand, and it creates a little bit of heat here because this hand is held kind of unnaturally, especially after you've seen the inside and the outside of this hand, which draws attention here. Then you can casually open this hand to show it. So effectively, you have created what's called a spider vanish. And the spider grip vanish is kind of what another way of saying a double feint vanish, to throw your audience off the scent. And the reason that you do that is because as you perform in whatever style of magic you're performing, your audience is going to become educated as to how you perform. So if every time you do a vanish, it vanishes from one side, goes from one side and vanishes on the other side, they're going to immediately start to suspect that the coin never left this one hand. The more you do it, even no matter how good it looks, they're going to suspect that it's in this hand. So a double feint vanish will effectively throw them off the scent. It's what I like to call the WTF moment. So constructing those throughout your routines is always going to be a great idea. But again, that is the nowhere palm. Now I'll give you a way that you can produce a coin from this position. So you're in the nowhere palm in one of the three ways that you got there. Let's say that you just have the coin at the fingertips, you caused it to vanish. The easiest way to get a coin to appear from the nowhere palm is exactly the same way you would if the coin was in finger palm. You can reach into the air, which now you have this really cool, clean display. And at a moment's notice, you can have a coin at the fingertips. In an exposed view, you've got the coin in nowhere palm. You reach into the air while keeping the coin parallel to both the floor and the ceiling as you reach into the air and pretend to grab a coin. You need that invisible coin at the tips of the fingers. And as you come to blow on the coin as if you're blowing the invisibility away from the coin. Your thumb is going to go underneath the coin and push it against the middle finger. The index and the middle finger are going to extend as you then push the coin gently towards the fingers. This happens as you go to blow on the coin and it appears. So from the nowhere palm, you reach out, pretend to grab something. As you go to blow, you display. And from the front once more, watch. And this is, again, a very magical but very simple way to create a production from the nowhere palm. Now, those are some of the techniques that I wanted to go over that will help us a little bit later on. But the first piece of magic that I wanted to share with you today won't require any of them. In fact, this is something that was taught to me by my good friend Scott Robinson from North Carolina, from Charlotte. He's got a group down there called Slight Club, and it's a great group of guys. He gave me permission to place this on my metal series that came out with Illusionist, and it's one of the pieces of magic that if I don't have anything on me, if I'm out traveling in the world, I don't have any coins, I don't have a deck of cards, I don't even have a finger ring on, and someone asks me to do a piece of magic, I'll ask, hey, look, do you have any loose change? I'll show you something cool. In fact, let's switch over to this camera. Thank you, George. This is something that uses just an American penny, an American quarter. I'm going to roll the sleeves back so you don't accuse me of cheating, even though I am. Watch the 2 coins. In fact, what I'll do is I'll take the penny, I'm going to place it here into the hand, and I'll take the quarter and I'll leave it sitting here on the back of the hand. All it takes is a blow. And that quarter instantly changes to the penny. And here, inside of my hand, there's the quarter. Now, again, this is a trick called loose change by Scott Robinson. When Scott teaches this trick, he usually tells people to use a nickel, an American nickel, and then a penny. I prefer the quarter over the nickel for a couple of reasons. I like the contrast in size, and the penny is got a little bit more room to hide behind a quarter than behind an American nickel. So when you do the change, in my opinion, it's a lot more immediate and instant. You could do it with a $50. I think that's a bit of overkill. I think a penny and a quarter is probably the right size for this. The idea is that you start with the 2 coins in a 2-coin fan so that the penny is uppermost and closest to yourself. And I'm going to hold the coin so that my thumb contacts only the uppermost coin, just the penny, and my index and middle finger contact the quarter. And the reason I'm holding it from this grip, and you don't want to hold it with the majority of your thumb covering the coin, just the tip of your coin. Just the tip of the thumb contacting the penny. And the reason for this is because in a moment, your thumb is going to pull that penny down and behind the quarter like so. And it's going to look weird if you have more of your thumb covering because they're going to see this and then they're going to see this. That's going to be a bit of a giveaway as to what happened. So you want your thumb behind the quarter, contacting less than half of that penny. Now, from this point, what's going to happen is I'm going to pretend to take the penny between the index finger, middle finger, and thumb of the free hand. As you do that, you're going to slide the penny down behind the quarter, and you should be able to hear it. I'm going to get a little closer to my microphone. I'm hoping you guys can hear that. So it creates an auditory illusion of you taking the coin into the other hand. I'm going to come a little closer to the microphone. Hopefully you can still hear it. So you get this auditory illusion as well as a visual illusion of the coin going into the other hand. Now, one thing I will tell you, just like you don't want to have your thumb sticking out when you do the pull down, you also don't want your thumb sticking out when you're supposed to have an object here. Because if you were to have an object here, your thumb would definitely be behind the hand. Otherwise, how would you hold it? So if you're holding it like this, that looks weird. Most people would hold something at the fingertips this way, which means that your thumb is actually behind the fingers. Same thing here. You pretend to take it, thumb is going to be behind the fingers. That's really important. I see a lot of people do this, and it looks like you're just showing a thumb tip. So again, pretend to grab the coin, placing it behind the quarter. Now what I do is I open the fingers, all except for the index finger, which is squeezing the two coins together with the thumb, and I'm going to pretend to place that penny into the palm of the hand. Now you don't want to open the hand because that gives away the illusion that there's nothing there. So what I'll do is I'll place the index finger, middle finger, and thumb onto the palm of the hand, and then I'll close the hand around what should be a coin, and then I'll pull the hand back. So up to speed, it should look like I've taken the coin and placed it into the other hand. If I was doing that real time, it would look exactly the same way. Now what I'm going to do from this point, once the hand is closed, I'm going to take my thumb and place my thumb squarely behind the penny. My entire thumb, the middle of my thumb goes against that penny. The index finger contacts the edge closest to my fingertips, along with my middle finger. So rather than holding the two coins like so, the middle of my thumb is going to contact the penny. That's going to be important in a moment. Because now I'm going to turn the hand palm down and I'm going to balance both of the coins on the thumb. So the reason I'm holding with my index finger and thumb is because I want to tilt the coins. Like right now it's vertical, and I want to tilt the two coins, and I want to make sure that they're balanced before I let go and allow the two coins to rest on the thumb. And it's important that they're solid because this coin will have a tendency to move because there's very little friction between the penny and the quarter. So it's important that you use your index finger and your middle finger to find the balance point on the thumb. When you're ready to cause the moment of magic to happen, I like to blow. You see there? That's exactly what I mean. You notice how the coin rolled off to the side? That's what you don't want to happen. When you're ready to cause the moment to happen, you go to blow, and you're going to cover the quarter. I'm only going to do it with one finger. Oops. There's that lack of friction again. I'm only going to do it with my middle finger so that you can see what happens. As I blow, I'm going to pull back with both my index and my middle finger, exposing the penny while at the same time getting rid of the quarter. And you want to do it very gently so that you don't hear that sound. There are two schools of thought when it comes to creating sound or not creating sound. One is that you use soft coins. That being that you use coins. Let me see if I have one here. Actually, none of these are particularly soft. But the idea is that there's a rim on almost every coin minted in America. And if you have two coins that have a rim, they make quite a bit of noise. That friction causes that noise. But if you have a lowered rim, and that happens over time, what happens is those two coins have less friction, so the coins are considered soft coins. But here, we're not using soft coins. These are coins that are in circulation, so they do have friction. The second school of thought, when you want to avoid noise, is to have a soft touch rather than using soft coins. And by that, what I mean is by not squeezing between the fingers and the thumb as much, it causes less friction between the coins, so that you're then able to very softly and almost silently move one coin against the other to create this moment of magic. So let's talk about how we got there again. Let's do a quick recap. So I'm going to show the two coins, the uppermost coin closest to myself, the lowermost coin furthest away. I'm going to pretend to grab the top coin. It actually hides behind the other. I'll pretend to place it into the hand. I don't want to move these fingers until I close the hand around it. Then I place the middle of my thumb on the back of the two coins, gripping it by the edges closest to my fingers. That way I can display the quarter, balance it on the back of the hand, and then whenever you're ready to create the moment of magic, you blow, and as you blow, you're going to cover the two coins, pull back on the quarter, exposing the penny. That's created the moment of magic. Now for the cleanup. You're in this exact position. You'll notice that the two coins are now no longer touching. There's a bit of space between the penny and the quarter, which means that if I was to loosen my pressure on the quarter by opening the pinky and thumb, that coin will fall without losing control of the penny. That's going to be extremely useful in just a moment, because while I have the cover of my four fingers, I'm going to turn this hand palm up using these four fingers as a shield to disguise the moment that I do open my index finger and thumb, allowing the coin to fall through the thumb hole of the hand. That way the hands can separate as I display the penny that was just a moment ago the American quarter. I can then draw the attention back to the hand where the penny once stood, slowly open the fingers again to reveal the quarter and the penny have traded places. So once more, up to speed, two coins, an American quarter, an American penny. The idea is to keep your eyes on the penny. And I'll do this slowly. The quarter sits on the hand to distract you. Because if you watch, I can create the illusion that the penny trades places with the quarter. And that's a really cool trick that like I said, I use it almost every single day by my good friend Scott Robinson. I really hope you enjoy that as well. Earlier, we were having a conversation about the JW grip. And we also had a conversation about edge grip and the third finger curl palm, also known as nowhere palm. And a set of lecture notes that I wrote that technically haven't really been released to the public. I sold a few copies, but they haven't really been released. I wrote an essay called Spectatorial Triangulation, aka Take a Friggin' Step Back. What does this mean? It is an essay that was designed to tell people how they can use magic that would be considered angle sensitive in the real world, using geometry of all things. When I left high school, I said, you know what, I'll never use this damn geometry again, other than maybe playing pool. But no, this is a very practical way to use geometry. So let's think about the three major angles. We've got the obtuse angle, which is more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. We've got the right angle, which is exactly 90 degrees. And then we have the acute angle, which is less than 90 degrees. How do we use these? If you think about your performing situation, whether you're performing at a table, at chest height, or eye level, the performing area is going to be the base of the triangle, the intersection. If you take the left eye of the spectator furthest to your right, and if you take the right eye of the spectator furthest to your left, that's going to form an angle. So depending on how far out your audience is, or how few people you're performing for, or how many people you're performing for, it's going to create an angle. If we're doing this along the x-axis, to again take the left eye of the spectator furthest to your right, the right eye of the spectator furthest to your left, it creates an angle, whether it's here at the table, your chest, or at your eye level. If that angle happens to be an obtuse angle, more than 90 degrees, just by taking a single military step back, it changes that angle from an obtuse angle to a right angle. So let's put this in practical terms. Let's say I'm performing this way, and you are the left eye of the spectator furthest to my right. If I'm performing here, you're now able to see, this is at my eye level, you're the spectator furthest to my right. I'm using you as the left eye. But by taking one military step back, just this amount of distance, I am now able to mask that coin from your view. See what a difference a step makes. Oh, it's coming out of camera a little bit, but right about here. I'll bring it down a little bit. Just one distance. Same thing to the left. Just by taking one military step back, it brings it to about a 90-degree angle, which is optimal for magic that would be considered angle sensitive. If you take another step back, it'll bring it to essentially an acute angle, which is the best angle for anything, especially in a situation like this on Zoom or any other virtual setting where you're performing for a fixed lens. That's a very, very acute angle because it's not going anywhere. I don't have to worry about here or here. I'm only performing for one individual. It's also great for when you're doing stage magic because that's the same principle. You're able to get away with murder because you're so far away from your audience. If you were to do some of those techniques just a couple of feet away, it would be exposed to your audience. But that's just along the x-axis. Let's also talk about the y-axis. If you were to take the top of your head, or the top of the head of your tallest spectator, the bottom of the chin of your smallest or your seated spectators, and your performing space, either on the table, at chest height, up at eye level. Again, that creates an angle. And again, just by taking a step back, you can then create either a 90-degree or an acute angle. So again, same thing. What I'll do is I'll switch over to this camera so you can get an idea of what I mean. So let's say this camera is going to be the top of the spectator's head. If I come down, see how you notice the coin from here. But by taking a step back, that now optimizes my performing space. Same thing with third finger curl palm. From here, you stand a chance of seeing the coin. But just by bringing the hand back, that changes the angle. Same thing with the edge grip. I'll leave a coin at the fingertip so you can see it. Just by coming back, military step, you're able to conceal that coin from view. So that gives you a little bit of idea of how you can take a piece of magic that would be considered angle sensitive and change it just a little bit to make it optimal for just about any performing situation. You can do the same thing with card magic. You can do the same thing with billiard balls, thimbles, anything that would be considered angle sensitive. Just be cognizant of your angles. You're going to do fine. Thing I want to do now is a piece of magic with 3 coins. These are 3 solid silver American half dollars from the turn of the last century. The idea is really simple. The idea is that one at a time, you'll see the 3 coins as they travel from here to here, as if by magic. Now, maybe that was a little too fast. Let's do it again. Watch. From here to here. That would be coin number 2. We'll try it once more. Watch the last one as it travels here. Watch. And that would be a trick with 1, 2, and 3 coins. Now, this is a very simple 3-fly routine that happens all in one space, and it doesn't require any gimmicks. All it requires is 1 extra coin. We'll switch over to this camera if we don't mind. Thank you, George. Now, what I do is I start off with 1 coin in my dominant hand. I'm left-handed, by the way. And the other 3 coins are going to be held at the fingertips. The uppermost coin, closest to me. The lowermost coin, furthest away. I'm going to show you the 3 coins and show you an empty hand. And then I'm going to bring the 3 coins to the fingertips of the empty hand. And then I'm going to point, or what's going to seem like I'm pointing. What I'm actually doing is using the back of my hand as cover. I'm going to push this coin to the fingertips as I point. So it's really out in the open. But again, using that spectatorial triangulation, I know exactly how far I need to be away from my spectator's point of view so that this coin, which is literally out in the open, isn't seen by the audience. In order to cause the coin to look like it jumps from here to here, I'm going to pull down with the thumb, pulling this coin at a diagonal towards the palm of the hand, like this. At the same time, I'm going to turn the hand at the wrist towards my audience as if I'm pointing to the audience. At the same time, I'm going to switch between the middle finger, which is holding the coin, and the index finger. So it looks like the coin boop, just appears. So watch, there's the coin. That's a pretty magical production in and of itself. Let me do it behind the black of my shirt so you can see it there. A very magical production. Boop. Combine that with pulling down, and your audience is going to see magic whether they look to your left or to your right. If they look on this side, they'll see the coin vanish, and then they'll look to see that the coin has appeared. If they look on this side, they see the coin appear, then they see that one of the coins has vanished. Either way, you get magic. Now, the next thing I need to do is get the coin that I just pulled down into this hand, and I'm going to do it in a very interesting way. As I present the trick to the audience, at a moment of relaxation, I bring the hands together as I relax backwards. And in doing so, I'm going to push this coin forward, and then I'm going to clip it between the thumb and the middle finger here. And again, that's out in the open, but you simply cannot see it. So the first coin produced, talk, talk, talk. I come together, bring the hands together for just a moment. And now I've got one coin clipped between my middle finger and my thumb just here. And I've still got the two visible coins here with the hands just a couple of inches apart. You're going to do that pull down move again. And this time, what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze with your thumb and let go with your middle finger, allowing this coin to click into place from here to here. It's a very, very visual production, and it's auditory. You can hear it as it arrives. So when you combine those two actions, it looks like one coin jumps from here, from here to here, as if by magic. From this point, I like to push this coin up, just for consistency, even though I produced it this way. I like to have it here. So one more time, I show the two, show the one, boop. And as I display, I can show this. Now here's a really cool subtlety. Now in this hand, I'm showing the coin between my index finger and my middle finger and my thumb. I'm showing two coins. Here, I'm able to do the same thing with this really cool palm up display, but I'm still hiding the other coin behind the index finger, middle finger, and thumb. But it really does look like I'm showing you everything. All you have to do is make sure that your fingers are wide enough to cover the coin between your index finger and middle finger with a little bit of space on the bottom side. If you are able to do that, then you can get this really cool display. Oops, there's a little bit of flash, I apologize. So just like that. And you're able to see it perfectly. Now, I need to get one of these coins into the hand to do the last phase. So once more, I'm going to bring the hands together. And when I do, I'm going to push this coin over. And once it's covered, I can let go with my thumb. That way my thumb can grab the hidden coin here and then pull it back as I push this coin to the fingertips. And that looks like that. And in slow motion, I'll leave it slightly exposed. Up to speed, it just looks like you're tapping the coins. And what I love about this is it doesn't appear as if anything changes. It's imperceptible. Sometimes even in slow motion, it's imperceptible. I'll do it a little slower. Up to speed. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is a vanish by a vanish that I learned, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago from the days of the Magic Video Depot. Josh and Andy, you guys probably remember Magic Video Depot, right? Like way back in the day, back when I had hair. A guy named Arnaud Chevry had this really cool palm up vanish, which was similar to the French drop or the tourniquet vanish, but it was only with one hand. And I'll go over it first, and then we'll put it in the context of this three flap. The idea is that the index finger, middle finger, and the thumb hold the coin with the hand palm up. And similar to the French drop, the coin's going to fall into the fingers. But rather than the hand staying in this U or C shape, the hand is going to flatten like so. From the fingertips into the palm of the hand, or into the fingers, curled fingers, basically in finger palm position. The problem is, you see the coin like this, but to keep the audience from seeing the coin, you're going to curl the fingers in to obscure the item that you're trying to hide from your audience's point of view. Now, with the fingers curled in just slightly, just cupped in just a little bit, it keeps you from seeing the coin and creates the illusion that this is an otherwise empty hand. So if you hold the coin here, it looks like you're seeing the hand completely. And if you mirror the hands, it looks perfectly natural. The problem is that with this vanish, when you cause this coin to vanish, the audience is instinctively going to ask where it went. That's just the nature of human beings. And with this particular vanish, they only have to look up a couple of inches to see it. So what you want to do is you want to produce the coin to take the heat away. Now, in the context of another routine that I'll be showing you next week, we're gonna divert their attention from this hand in another way. But in the context of this routine, when this coin vanishes, you're going to produce this coin simply by pushing the thumb up to reveal it. So from here to here. And then because this hand is dirty, you can show 3 coins here, ostensibly between the index finger, middle finger, and thumb, and there's nothing to hide. But when this coin vanishes, you want to clean up. So what I'll then do is I will drop 2 of the 3 coins here against the coin that's already in the fingers. So boom, and now they're able to see everything. Well, so they feel. When in fact, I've now pulled this coin down, push it up when I produce it, and then as I open this hand, I'm simply going to pull back with the thumb as I release pressure with my middle finger and thumb, allowing both of those coins to fall into the hand and allowing me to take this coin here. So once more, pull down, those 2 coins fall, this goes into the finger palm, and now I can cleanly display 3 coins. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the 3fly. So what I'd love to do now that we've pretty much wrapped up the things that I wanted to really go over for this particular section of the masterclass, I'd love to bring Josh and Andy back, and let's see if we can get some questions.
Hey, great job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys.
Andy, you're muted, I believe.
How about now?
Yeah, sounds good.
The people in the chat really loved that you went over the kind of the details slowly on the basic coin slide. So thank you for doing that. I think that's going to really up in good spirits for the rest of the masterclass ongoing.
Excellent. Thank you.
So there are some really great questions in the chat, and awesome. Let's go for the first one, which is from Kim McCarsell, and I think it's a really great question. How do you practice? And also, the question came in at the exact same time when you were talking about the, I'm going to say this wrong, spectatorial triangulation?
Yeah, spectatorial triangle. That's some crap I made up.
So yeah, Kim wants to know in general how you practice, but I want to know how you practice the triangulation to make sure that you get the right step back. So
okay.
Both questions.
So Kim, great question. Thank you so much. The first thing that I'll say is the way I practice is by doing. You know, I remember someone saying in the Air Force years ago, we build while we fly, meaning that, you know, you master while you do, learn while doing. So one of the things that I like to do is once I have essentially practiced to the point where I have a technique rehearsed enough that it's ready to perform, I go out and I perform it for an audience. But if you're more concerned with how do you get to the point where you're ready to perform it for an audience, self-study, to get your angles together, what I used to do was perform for a mirror. The problem that a mirror poses is it only gives you one angle. Typically, if you're standing and you're performing waist height, then it only gives you an angle downward. If you're performing for a camera, it gives you, again, just a single angle. So unless you're performing with multiple cameras or multiple mirrors, you're only getting to see that one angle. So what I did is I decided I wanted to record myself. So with the advent of smartphones, I was able to perform I can record myself from my laptop. I can perform for my iPhone all at the same time. Then I can put them all in a thing where I can see from 2 or 3 different angles, all within the same performance, just by editing them together. Now that sounds like it's a lot, but it's the same thing as having 3 mirrors. The only difference being is that you're not seeing yourself in real time. You're seeing recordings of yourself. So either of those ways will work. But as Josh mentioned earlier, one of the things that's really important to me is the cadence, the timing, really milking magical moments to get the most out of a performance for my spectators. And I did that with a metronome, and also by listening to jazz and old school 90s R&B music, so that I could perform in rhythm. And just by pausing to certain beats, I'm able to create the tension necessary to lengthen a moment for dramatic effect. When it comes to the spectatorial triangulation, when it comes to the spectatorial triangulation, one of the things that I do again is I have to pretty much learn while I'm doing. I build it while I fly. I spend a lot of time when I'm performing watching my spectators' eyes. The truth of the matter is your audience is going to give you everything you need. They're going to tell you with their eyes whether or not they've been fooled by something you've done or if you haven't fooled them at all. You can tell if your misdirection is off, if your timing is off, just by watching where they're looking when. If I go to do a simple vanish here, and if I look here and I look at them and they're looking over here, I didn't fool them. They know that the coin is in this hand for one of a couple of reasons. Either because I've done the vanish so much that they've become accustomed to the way that I perform, and now they're anticipating it's here because they know it can't be here because they've been fooled by this a few times. They're not going to be fooled again. Another reason is my technique could have been flawed. I could have done this, and they saw the coin travel back into the other hand because they saw it leave. So it could be my timing, and that lets me know what I need to change at the next performance. Other things, again, the way I developed that spectatorial triangulation is by looking at my angles and being in situations where I had to place my back to a wall and realizing that with my back to a wall, there are certain techniques that I can't perform because I can't get away from them far enough to be able to perform techniques that are a bit more angle sensitive. Because if I'm performing here and there's someone literally here, I've got no place that I can hide this coin. So I've got to vary the technique to do something that has 180-degree coverage, like the nowhere palm, if I still want to be able to show the hand empty. So by having a wide skill set, by having a large arsenal, a repertoire of techniques, you can change them in and out at will so that you can find the piece that works the best for the piece of magic that you're doing. I hope that answers your question, Kim. Thank you so much for it.
Yeah, that's great. I've got a question for you. So, I do one coin trick in my virtual shows, but it was for me the hardest one to convert to virtual because the timing was totally different. I found that like you hold up a card and it's fairly obvious what the card is and where it's at, but a coin takes a lot longer to register. So I was like having to really learn how far to bump things in and hold things still in a position for a much longer period of time than I would in a real show. And I was wondering, I assume, maybe wrongly, that in your virtual show you're doing a fair amount of coin work. If you had any tips for us on integrating coin work generally in a virtual show.
Great question, Josh. I appreciate it. The first couple of things that I'll say is I, like some of you, I'm relatively new to the virtual arena. As Josh mentioned at the very top of the bill, I fought it. I felt like magic has to be done live. You lose the audience participation aspect. You lose credibility because the audience has no way to verify that the props that you're using are real. So I struggled with it for a while. The truth of the matter is I didn't do my first virtual show until September. So I'm still learning how to navigate the virtual arena. So I'm not a master of it at any means. However, one of the things that I found that really helps is to make sure that you slow everything down. If you are already doing things at a slow pace, you really want to pause to give them an opportunity to see the object. Like you'll notice how I've got the autofocus set up so that now I put the coin in full view so that you can see it a lot better. And then you also have to remember, depending on your lighting, if you really want them to see the coin, you're really going to have to make sure that you tilt it against the lighting so that they can get all those details. In regards to the selection of material, I always do the three fly. That's something I always do. But I also integrate some one coin material as I talk about the differences between magic and sleight of hand. And I found just a couple of techniques that work well for the setting. Of course, using the JW grip is always going to be a really cool thing. I also use a thing that I'm going to teach later on called imagination, which allows you to see between the fingers. Sit, stay, good boy. It allows you to see between the fingers as the coin vanishes. That was a bit of a flash, but you get the idea. So, boom, boom, boom. So things like that I found work really good in a virtual arena. I also do a trick that I bought from you guys, as a matter of fact, the flip book. And instead of using a borrowed ring, I get two spectators from the audience and I have them give me their initials and I place their initials on the front and the back. I cause the coin to vanish and then the coin appears in the flip book, which I think is a nice variant instead of being able to use a borrowed finger ring since I'm working in a virtual setting. And that plays really well as a object to impossible location for virtual.
Am I right in thinking that when you're performing on stage, you also use video camera work?
I do, yeah, quite a bit. And that's a great point. It's helped me learn how to slow down, take a little bit more time to make sure that the audience has a moment to appreciate, what they're seeing, give them a moment to react before I move on to the next thing. It takes a little bit of practice. I'm trying to remember. Oh gosh, I can't remember the source. You're gonna have to forgive me. Maybe I'll make a note and come back to it. But there was something that I wanted to talk, but I don't want to give it without being able to credit the source. But essentially, if you're working virtually, what you have to do is take your normal pace, drop it by 25 to 50%. If you do that, then it gives the audience enough time to really appreciate. Even if you're really animated, really hyper, or really aggressive in your performance, I think just by slowing down an additional 25 to 50% will really do the trick.
And are you finding that material selection overlaps between the stuff you do on stage to camera and in a virtual show?
The truth of the matter is, like for instance, I performed, well, prior to the pandemic, I was performing on Disney cruise ships, and I was doing two 45-minute shows, two different 45-minute shows, a 30-minute adult show, and then I had a half an hour workshop, family-friendly workshop. And of the material that I'm doing in a virtual setting versus what I was doing on cruise ships, I've only seen 25% of the material poured over to virtual, mostly because of the lack of engagement or the interaction. I can't say, here, I want you to examine this, or here, I want you literally on stage with me to be my assistant. There are certainly there are things that I've been able to work around. For instance, I don't have it in my office yet. It's downstairs, but I have a clay set of hands that if I needed someone to hold on to something, I can have them do that. I also have these really cool little frames that I got from TCC Presents, and it's like a little plexiglass. It's meant to hold a deck of cards, but it works really good as just a little display where if I need to put a single card down, I can do that. But I really like being able to have someone hold their hands out. So like if I want to do sponge balls, you can have that hand and then have a little box that opens and closes. That way I can show the ball, place it inside, show the other ball, make it vanish. And then when I open, two balls pop out the same way you would do, the spectator's hand. So yeah, there's been a little bit of overlap. It's been more of trying to find ways to get what I'm already doing that I'm already confident with to work in a virtual space. But there have been quite a few new additions. Like my hour-long show, like I said, 75% of it is stuff that I'd never done prior to September.
Yeah. So let's go
scary.
with that because we're getting some questions of people asking just generally. You very much are a close-up magician, and now you're doing a lot of parlor and huge stage stuff. Can you give our viewers some insight and advice on how you either converted close-up material to parlor or how you're going about, designing a show for a bigger audience?
Yeah, great question. So this is a situation where if you've ever seen me work at like the Magic Castle or at a convention, it's usually traditional, formal close-up magic. I'm behind a table, performing for a small group of people. On a Walt Disney cruise ship, I'm performing for 1,800 people for 45 minutes at a time. And you don't, even though you've got this huge movie theater size screen behind you, and you've got two Titantron size screens off to the left and to the right of the wings, you don't want the entire show to be just close up behind the camera. Your audience is going to get bored. They're going to be like, when the hell is this going to be over with? It's just not going to be interesting. So you have to find ways to engage with the audience in real time. So I do a combination of close up from two different sides of the stage. I have two tables, one on either side of the stage set up. And then in the middle, I have a microphone. And that's where I'm able to do some of the stand up pieces. 6 card repeat. It's where I'm able to do Miser's Dream, things that we all know play to a huge, huge audience. Um, but again, you have to find the pieces that work for you. You have to find the scripting, the pattern. It's pretty much, it feels like common sense, but it takes a lot of trial and error. There were a lot of things that I was doing that I don't feel like necessarily match my persona, even though the piece of magic is killer. Then there are other pieces of magic that initially didn't fit my performing style, but I've been able to change it. Like in my closet, maybe I'll show you guys in another session. But I started off with a trick you guys may have heard of it called the pom pom stick, which is essentially a pole that has 4 pom-poms attached to strings on the inside. And you pull one and one goes down, you pull one and another one goes down, and you get this really cool labyrinth or sequence of events that happens. But the traditional pom-pom stick pattern just didn't work for me. So what I did is I replaced the pom-pom stick with blocks. And each block has a different social media outlet: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, now TikTok. I've got to update my MySpace to TikTok. But the idea is talking about how we're all connected. And that worked for me a lot better. So it's about finding what your interests are, finding the pieces of magic that fit you, and finding a way to make it work in the situations that you're in.
Great. Fantastic.
Michael's just sent in a question that actually applies to this, about doing stuff on stage and camera. Do you use different coin sizes, Walking Liberty versus Morgan, for different tricks and or settings, or do you usually keep with $half size for close-up, parlor, and stage?
That's a great question. And it depends. You said Mike. It was Mike who asked the question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. The truth of the matter is, I use different size coins for different pieces of magic, depending on the size of the audience that I'm performing for and my audience and my performing conditions. All three of those factors go into every performance. I always carry silver dollars. I always carry quarters. I always carry $half. So if I'm doing walk around magic and I know that it's just a small amount of people that I'm going to be performing for at a time, I very well may just have quarters on me. I'll switch to $half for visibility for things like 3fly. But if I'm doing the magic here and I'm only doing it for 2 or 3 people, then I want to do it with something that they're familiar with. They're not going to have to say, geez, that's a big quarter, because I'm going to use quarters. So use something that they're familiar with. If I'm performing a lot of walk around where I think I'm going to gather a larger audience, where instead of working for 3 or 4, I'm working an event that has maybe 1,000 people, and I've got to draw 25 or 30 people at each spot that I perform in. Then I'm going to switch to either $half or silver dollars for each piece of magic that I perform. If it's a situation where it's formal close up, or a situation where I know that I'm going to have projection, then I can stay within my comfort level, use $half. There are only 2 tricks that I do that require silver dollars. One is the cylinder and coins, which even with that, I just got a $half set made. And I have a trick that came out years ago called audio, which is a audible coins to pocket, where you make the coins vanish from your hand and you audibly hear them arrive in your pocket one at a time. That requires a silver dollar because of the sound. It's a lot more pronounced than $half or quarters. So I prefer that, unless I'm using a shot glass. So again, depending on the trick, the audience that I'm performing for, and my working conditions, they will all play a factor in the size of coin that I use. A great question, Mike. I appreciate it.
Question coming in from the chat is, do you have any way of justifying using old coins? Do you feel the need to? Do your audiences find it weird? This is coming from somebody in the chat.
I used to think that using old coins brought more attention, negative attention, and they were a little bit more suspicious. Like, first off, what the hell is this? I've never seen a coin that looks like this before. Is it real? That kind of thing. And they want to do all this extra stuff. And then I found out I don't know, well, probably working in restaurants years ago, that as long as you give your audience an opportunity to examine the props that you're using, typically they don't care. As long as you can justify why you're using this particular prop for this particular audience at this particular time, they usually run with it. So I usually say, you know what? My grandfather, he was a coin collector. These are some of the coins that he gave me just before he passed. In fact, these are really old 1918 solid silver half dollars from the days of the Wild Wild West, from the days of Buffalo Bill. Please check them out. Make sure that they feel real. You know, this is back when silver had a real value. And once you've allowed them to examine the coins, they're game. I think the same thing with a deck of cards. You know, I was reading Bill Duncan has a book called Tub Thumping. And what I love about Bill Duncan's book is every single page in that book had a new piece of information that I was able to immediately apply to my own magic. For instance, on one page, he says, what is the fairest way to have a card selected? He said, you can spread through the cards and have them take one card. You can have them dribble. You can dribble through the cards and have them take one card. But the audience is always going to, if it's just in the back of their mind, they're going to think that maybe you've coerced them. You've tried to convince them to choose a certain spot where you can control the outcome. The only way to convince your audience that the card that they're taking is fair is to give them the cards. Let them shuffle the cards, take one out, and then take them back. That gets rid of all suspicion that you're using a phony deck, and it works really well. I do the same thing with the coins. I have the coins examined, and the second I have the coins examined, they give them back to me. Now everything feels like it's above board, which also, just a tip for people doing virtual shows. I know we're not in the card section yet, but this is something that I've tried out recently, just to both get the engagement up and to try to find ways to get more people to believe that the props that I'm using are real. What I do is if I've got one set in my show where I do 3 card tricks with the same deck of cards. So what I do is I take a deck of cards and I video myself taking the deck of cards, breaking it up into 3 different portions, placing each of the portions into a Ziploc bag. I squeeze it, roll it up, put a rubber band around it, put it into a priority mail envelope, and I send it out to 3 different families with instructions to let the bag sit for 48 hours before opening. That way it gets rid of all the COVID, if there's any COVID on it. I want them to take the cards out, shuffle it, put the cards back into the Ziploc bag in that order, put a rubber band around it, and then sign it, put it in an envelope, send it back to me, and then I have all 3 of those sitting here. So when I'm ready to do the trick, I can have each of those families verify that that's their information as I take the cards out, coalesce the packets. That way they have a shuffled deck. That way we know we're dealing with the real thing because 3 different families have done it. So that's something that has been working really well for me. It might sound a little bit, like a lot to have a deck shuffled, but it's one way to make it work.
That is the craziest length to go for a shuffled deck of cards that I've ever heard of. That's amazing. The other thing that I just wanted to add is that I've noticed too is, I mean, this isn't specific to virtual shows, but the simple answer that you're using these old, beautiful coins because they're big and that they're easy to see goes a long way. I mean, I think that when I've said that, I sort of just watch people's gears start going, oh, yeah, obviously, much easier to see than a quarter. And then it's done. It's what's going on. What are you doing with it? So that
makes sense.
Too. Andy, we got a question about sharpening coins, right?
Just what I was going to ask. Yeah, from William. Do you prepare your coins to soften or make the edges sharper?
Sharpen?
Soften.
Oh, I think I know what you mean, like remilling the edges.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you. So I prefer, and this might be a better example. I hope you guys will be able to see this. So the black that you're able to see on this coin is from patina, essentially dirt that gets on the coin while the coins travel in your pocket or in the purse or wherever you hold your coins. I don't darken the coins. There is a bleaching method where you can apply bleach and then rub or scrub away all of the high areas of the coin. Excuse me. If we can switch over to this camera, we can get a better look, I think. Thank you, George. That way you can see the patina on the coin. Some people will bleach the coin and then scrub off all the high spots, leaving only the crevices to have that darker patina. I'm not a fan of that. These coins have been around for 100 years, and I want to keep them as close to their natural state. I don't even clean the coins, other than if I'm working in a situation where I have to be socially distant, but I want people to be able to handle the coins. I will take a sanitizing wipe and hit all four coins, and then place them on a mat, and then hand them to the spectator, and they can do that with or without gloves, and then they hand the coins back to me. As far as sharpening the coins, which is what people consider remilling the coin. Now, these coins have almost no milling at all. Like I said, these coins are, I don't think any of them do. Yeah, none of these coins have any milling at all. But what some people will do is they'll go through a tooling process. And I know both Jamie Schoolcraft and Todd Lassen are both able to do this, where they take a tool and they go around the coin to put a deep groove, similar to what you'd find in an American quarter, all the way around. The pro to this is it will allow the coin to grip you a little bit more. So that when you have the coin in classic palm or in edge grip, if you have moist or sweaty hands, then you've got a better chance of being able to grip the coin without it falling out of your hand. I find that a better solution to try and see if it works for you is to do one of two things. The late, great David Roth used to say that you can buy violin rosin, and you can place just a little bit of violin rosin all the way around the edge of the coin, and that creates a little bit of a tact so that it sticks to you a little bit more. The other thing that I find is just a little bit of magician's wax. Does the exact same thing. So regardless of if you prefer, like I prefer to leave the coins in their natural state, and I work with them as is. But if you prefer, you can either get the coins remilled by your favorite coin manufacturer, Roy Cooper's, Jamie Schoolcraft, Todd Lassen. I'm sure there are many others. Or you can apply violin rosin or even magician's wax to the edge of the coins, and that'll give you that extra grip you might be looking for.
Great. So question from Bernard. Let's get Bernard's question up. He says, will Eric cover this or next week his thoughts on a solid one coin routine? Particularly, I would like to know how he handles the mentioned issue that the audience expects the coin in the opposite hand.
Yes. Next week I plan on going over essentially two. One is a routine that I've been doing for years, and one that's going to feel more like a Slidini-esque style routine that will be a lesson into lapping, which is something that I wanted to cover a little bit here today, but I think we could push that over into the next lesson as well.
And I have a question from Stefan. Would Eric recommend practicing moves that happen at the same time in each hand, for example, for the free fly, separate from each other or at the same time?
Great question. I love that one. Thank you, Stefan. Here's the answer to that. Whether or not you perform the routine simultaneously or one hand at a time depends solely on your performing situation. Now, if I'm performing three fly for a group of people, I have to try to redirect all of their attentions at the same time. So I have to perform the routine, each move simultaneously, because what you don't want is you don't want a straggler when I go from here to see that there are still three coins here when the fourth one has been produced. You don't want that. So what I do is I'll say one at a time. You'll see the three coins as they fly from the fingertips here to the fingertips here. So I do the pull down move as I produce at the same time with the hands moving as if they're on a pulley. And the reason again is because I'm trying to redirect so many pairs of eyes all at the same time. However, if you're performing for a single person, an individual in a live setting, and I wouldn't say virtually. Virtually, you need to do it simultaneously because the camera doesn't blink. You can't misdirect the camera the same way you could in a live setting. But if I'm standing in front of you, I'm performing with my hands shoulder width apart. If I'm showing you over here, this is in your peripheral vision, but you can't see this hand the same way the way you can here virtually. So if I wanted to perform the same sequence for one person, I can make it more impactful in the live setting because I can show you three coins, show you an empty hand, and say one at a time, the coins are going to jump from here to here without you seeing it go. And what I would do is I would watch the spectator's eyes. I would show them 3 coins. I'd wait till they focus on them. Then I'd show an empty hand. I'd go back and make sure that they register that this is an empty hand. Then I'd slowly draw the coins to my empty hand, and I'd watch their eyes track all 3 coins. And then with the hands shoulder width apart, I'm going to produce this coin and wait for their eyes to go over and see this coin. The moment they see this coin, they'll ask themselves a question. And the question is this a 4th coin, or is it one of those? And it takes the brain a couple of seconds to ask that question, which would give me all the time in the world to slowly pull this coin out of view. So by the time they go back to look over, they're screwed. Because now I am able to do that rather than doing it simultaneously, I'm doing it individually because I'm drawing their attention away with this larger action, so I can isolate this action as well, if that makes sense. Great question.
To the end. That makes perfect sense. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this week's masterclass. I have been looking at the chat and people seem to really enjoy it. So thank you everyone for coming. And yeah, the material was killer. Why don't you give us a little preview of what's coming next week?
Next week, yeah. You know, I shoot, I should have done that. I had a couple of. I'll do this.
I have it if you want.
What's that?
I have the list if you want me to go over it.
Yeah. I was. That's what I was looking for. I wrote it down. It's in the other room.
We have the 2-card transpositions, Imagination Production Vanish Change, the Feral Grip, Master Move, and everyone's favorite, Menage a Trois 2.0.
Oh, yeah. So I'll do this. Hopefully you guys can see the coin here. All you have to do is watch it. If I wave, I can create the illusion that that coin completely hangs in the air. So that's a really cool vanish that I'll be doing next week as a part of the series that we're going to do on lapping. So before we go, I do want to say that what we covered today was essentially for the people who have, either were just getting into coin magic or needed some tips on how to learn or how to master some of the more basic techniques. This was the slow version. The next couple of weeks are going to go at a much quicker pace. We're going to cover a lot more material. I'm going to give you a lot more information for intermediate and advanced coin and card technique. So thank you for sitting through this. I know for some of you, it may seem a little, elementary, but trust me, it's about to go down. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you so much. We will see everybody next week. And I think, Eric, we're going to ask if you'll be our Valentine, because I think next week is Valentine's Day. So we will see you all then. And have a good week, everybody.
Happy Super Bowl.
Awesome.